del jardín.
Lo esencial de toda exploración será volver al propio jardín y ver las cosas por primera vez, decía el poeta T.S. Eliot. Y aquí estoy en mi jardín, como todos los días, viendo las cosas por primera vez, sintiendo la luz de esta tarde, el verde de las hojas, el sonido de los pájaros, y de alguna manera, a pesar de que estamos en cuarentena aquí en Chile, en varias regiones y ciudades, en un retiro forzado, eso nos ha obligado a volver hacia adentro, volver hacia nuestro interior, regresar a nuestro jardín para ver las cosas por primera vez, que es lo que decía el poeta T.S. Eliot. Y hoy día vamos a tener una conversación muy especial. Voy a conectarme con Uruguay, con Costa Azul en Uruguay, y voy a conversar con Isha. Algunos de ustedes probablemente la conocen, la han escuchado. Ella es originaria de Australia, radicada en América Latina desde el año 2000, ampliamente conocida como escritora espiritual, ha trabajado por la paz, ha creado fundaciones, Isha Educando para la Paz, muchas organizaciones que trabajan con personas de todo el continente, ha trabajado con niños, políticos, presos, personas con capacidades diferentes, en busca de una mejor calidad de vida. En el año 2010, ella compartió sus enseñanzas con más de 6.000 afectados por los terremotos en el sur de Chile. Fue nombrada embajadora de la paz por el Senado argentino. Su historia, su vida, es la historia de alguien que comenzó de nuevo, que nació de nuevo. Todos nosotros estamos invitados a nacer de nuevo. Pablo Neruda, el poeta, decía, tenía el título de un libro que me gusta mucho, decía, para nacer he nacido. Es decir, podemos tener varios nacimientos en el curso de nuestra propia vida. Y en esta situación global, mundial, tal vez sin darnos cuenta, tenemos la oportunidad, en muchos sentidos, de volver a nacer, de volver a empezar, de volver a ver el jardín por primera vez y de vernos a nosotros mismos por primera vez. Por eso que es tan importante esta conversación con Isha. Vamos a saludarla de inmediato. Isha, qué gusto de escucharte, un gusto de saludarte aquí desde mi jardín.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Un placer estar aquí.
Lo primero que quiero preguntarte, Isha, es cuando se supo la noticia de esta pandemia que avanza veloz por el mundo, ¿qué sensación tuviste o qué intuición o qué te pareció que nos decía esta pandemia? ¿Era simplemente una epidemia más o había algún mensaje, había algo detrás de este acontecimiento que ha cambiado la vida de millones de personas en el mundo hoy?
You know, the thing for me, everything's a positive thing now. And this is a bit annoying for people. But really, whenever something happens externally that's so strong, it's a call to go inwards and to change. And often humans won't change. They won't change until something drastic happens. And I think we're starting to realize something very important, and that's our own fragility. How much we depend on the outside and how little we tolerate of the inside. You know, it's very hard for humans to be with themselves, to take responsibility, to self-reflect, you know, and this is forcing people to do that. And, of course, people are full of fear because all of their external securities are becoming fragile and they're worrying about the future. And with this epidemic or pandemic, no one knows what's going to happen because it came so quickly. It's been so strong You know, it's like a terremoto. It's just boom in your face. And what do I do now? And I think it's forced people to be at home, maybe to confront some of their relationships, firstly with themselves and with everyone else around them, with their families. I think everyone's in a perfect place in this moment to grow, whether they want to or not.
Sí. Y ya hay un pensador muy, muy antiguo, antes de la filosofía, en la prefilosofía en Grecia, Heráclito, que dijo una frase muy potente. Dijo: me he investigado a mí mismo. Algunos dicen que con esa frase comenzó la filosofía y comenzó la aventura del autoconocimiento. Me gustaría que me dijeras, ¿qué te parece esa frase de Heráclito? Me he investigado a sí mismo. ¿Qué implicancias tiene?
You know, I think the most vital thing for any human is to know themselves intimately. It doesn't matter if they perceive good aspects or bad aspects. It doesn't matter if they perceive through the eyes of judgment. But once they start to love themselves with all their human fragile failings, which they believe are failings, they change their relationships externally. Because in reality, we're all the same. We all want the same things. We all have the same fears. We're all looking for the same thing, but we're not aware of it. But when we know ourselves intimately, we start to realize that there's something so much more. And that mass is inside of us. And it's permanent. You know, everything external is impermanent.
De alguna manera, esta reclusión a virus, el hecho de tener que estar encerrados en nuestras casas, convierte nuestros domicilios, nuestras casas, en un verdadero laboratorio de nuestra interioridad, de lo que somos, amplificados, porque nuestras virtudes y nuestros defectos salen a la luz muy amplificados. Es tal vez una oportunidad impresionante para poder ver qué es lo que hay dentro nuestro.
Absolutely. You know, and if you're locked inside in intimate relationships, like with your family, whatever, everything's in your face, no? And you have to start to say, you know, how am I going to change? What can I do? And I think it's also making us look at how focused we are on accumulating. And the basic needs of humanity, which is the environment, how we are mistreating our world. Because we're always escaping. We think something is magically going to change. And we don't take responsibility. We're always waiting for the government to do it or someone else to do it. And I think we're starting to realize that we all have to take responsibility. If we're intelligent, we're starting to realize that. So I have to change myself, and I have to start contributing to my world.
A mí me gustó mucho un libro tuyo que tengo aquí en mis manos que se llama Sobre las nubes.
Thank you.
Y me gustó mucho la introducción de este libro, cuando dice: no importa que le tomes en la vida, eres enteramente responsable. Esa fue una frase que te dijeron a los 12 años, que te lo dijo una directora de una escuela. Y esa frase ha tenido para ti una tremenda resonancia. Y en el mundo de hoy me da la impresión que muy pocos queremos asumir esa responsabilidad que tenemos con nuestra vida, lo que tú decías, ¿no? siempre hay un culpable afuera, siempre el mal está afuera, y ese trabajo de hacerse responsable es el verdadero despertar. Y me gustaría profundizar un poco en eso, Isha.
You know, the thing is, we're like children. We're always looking for someone to take care of us. Or we're looking to blame someone. And it's a very rare moment that you meet a mature person. A powerful person that takes responsibility for how they're being. And the only way to do that is to cultivate internal consciousness. You know, we just have to look at a lot of our political leaders and how immature they are. But humanity's immature. We behave like children. We're either blaming our parents, our partners, our bosses, and if you're bigger than that, you're blaming other countries, other authorities. You know, we're always blaming the outside. And this is how the world operates. And the world won't change until we all start to mature and take responsibility for how we're being. And this seems to be, it all comes from love, no? When I love myself, everything's important. When I don't love myself, everything is a threat to my ego. I have to show you how good I am because I feel really insecure. Look, I'm doing a good job.
Sí, 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 es verdad. Isha, tú hablabas de los niños, que los comportamos en forma inmadura. En realidad, tomamos lo peor de los niños, la inmadurez, pero no la inocencia, no su capacidad de fluir, no su creatividad, no esa libertad que tienen los niños, sobre todo en la primera etapa. O sea, ojalá fuéramos niños en ese sentido, ¿no?
Absolutely. You know, the innocence of a child, the present moment awareness, the appreciation, the innocence and love are the most perfect things that exist. And it's who we are. We lose that. We're taught fear. But when we're behaving like brat children, this is what I'm talking about. And it's okay for children. But you're looking at a 60, 70, 80-year-old doing the same thing, having temper tantrums, not taking responsibility for anything. That's a little bit sad, no? And that's what happens.
En otro capítulo de este mismo libro sobre las nubes, y un tema que tú tomaste al comienzo, hablas de cultivar la vulnerabilidad. Normalmente estamos tratando siempre de evitar nuestra vulnerabilidad y nuestra fragilidad, pero tú invitas a cultivar la vulnerabilidad. Hoy día la vulnerabilidad de cada uno de nosotros es inmensa, la vulnerabilidad de los países, la vulnerabilidad del mundo ha demostrado ser inmensa. Hoy día las grandes potencias están casi de rodillas, los grandes países, ante una epidemia. Es impresionante ver la fragilidad radical del mundo que habíamos construido, del mundo global, con todos sus elementos positivos y negativos, porque entonces tú de repente nos dices cultiva la vulnerabilidad. ¿Por qué hay que cultivar la vulnerabilidad?
You know, the thing is, we connect with each other through our humanity. And we are all very vulnerable. We're like little kids begging for love. You know, love me, love me, love me, love me. And when we start to show our humanity, we start to connect from a place of unconditional love. And it opens other people's hearts. You know, I have this fear. I'm afraid not to be good enough. I have all these judgments with myself. But we don't do that. We don't show our humanity. We put on a mask and we pretend. But everyone's pretending. And everyone can see we're pretending. And we have no transparency. And it's very hard to cultivate love without transparency. Just to be real, to show your fragility, allows you to cultivate so much power because you start to believe in yourself because you're genuine. And it's a freedom, no? To be real, to just speak your truth without editing everything 30 times in your head. Especially in your intimate relationships, ¿no?
Eso me recuerda a la frase de un poeta griego antiguo, Píndaro, que decía, sé tú quién eres. Suena muy fácil, pero es muy difícil. Sé tú quién eres. Quería preguntarte ahora por algo que tú dijiste en un mensaje que enviaste cuando partió la pandemia, que dijiste la humanidad siempre ha sobrevivido y en esta oportunidad también va a sobrevivir a este desafío. Pero hay un virus más fuerte que el virus que estamos enfrentando en los hospitales. Es un virus interior y ese virus se llama el miedo. Y quisiera que habláramos un poco de ese virus, de ese otro coronavirus que nos está atacando invisiblemente sin que nos demos cuenta. Y que es tan potente como el virus.
It's the greatest virus in the world. Because what is it? The fear of not having enough, the fear of not being loved, the fear of lack. People are living in fear and lack. You know, we have the capacity to create anything. But instead of creating and giving to each other and caring about each other, we're always focused on ourselves. Why? Because we feel fragile. We don't feel protected. We don't feel good enough. So once we heal this internal phenomenon, which is fear, and it's very easy to heal, we heal it through the elevation of consciousness, that internal vibration of unconditional love. And it's within all humans. You know, we were talking about children, and it's natural for children. They live in that space. But as adults, we create so many images, we don't even know who we are. We're more like a character of who we think we're meant to be. So it makes us so insecure because we don't have an internal anchor. So fear is causing all the problems in the world. It causes our interreligious problems. It causes the destruction of the planet because we have so much greed. It all comes from fear. Sustainable development comes from people loving themselves. And we need to teach the children to sustain that unconditional love. But we teach them the opposite. Compete, be the best, accumulate. We don't teach them just to be happy with who they are.
Quizás el diagnóstico hoy día en el mundo está mal hecho. En realidad, la epidemia es solo la oportunidad para darnos cuenta que estamos enfermos de miedo. O sea, nuestro mundo contemporáneo está enfermo de miedo. Esa es la enfermedad.
Sure, that's it. You know, we can change so quickly. We're so powerful. We have such an incredible energy, so much brilliance. We just have to go in. And we have to look at what's important. And when Mother Nature starts to take things away, we start to see, what serves in my life. My accumulation of things? No. And we have to see our greed too. The minute something like this happens, we all race to the supermarket and get as much as we can. And this is a classic example. We don't care about other people. Not if we feel afraid. We accumulate toilet paper like it's dollar bills. It's like humans go crazy because anything makes them feel secure. But it doesn't last because it's not permanent. And we have to find something permanent. I'm living here with the teachers of my system. And everything's in peace. We're giving to the world. We're supporting through Zoom and doing the best we can. But no one here is worrying because we know this too will pass. Or no. Eh? We adapt. We change. We grow. Sure, it absolutely creates friction. And then we have to go deeper. When friction creates, all the fragility is in our face. We have to confront ourselves. And it's so important. All growth throughout my life has come through suffering, come through loss. And if you have the intelligence to seize that and to use it for more love, for more power, it's a great liberation. And I'm finding these days, lots of young people don't need to suffer. Like they're intelligent enough to see that what we're doing is not working. And they're just changing automatically. Doing something new.
Jesús, que fue un gran maestro, dijo, el que pierda la vida, la ganará. El que gane la vida, la perderá. Es decir, perder la vida es la verdadera forma de ganarla. Más que ganarla, al revés, cuando creemos que hemos ganado algo, en realidad estamos perdiendo, en el sentido más espiritual, ¿no es cierto?
I think what he's saying is, what this means for me, our material world, our illusionary world, we have to let that die. And we have to find something much more powerful. And that's our true essence. That's the unconditional love. That's the thing that connects all of us. And when we start to live from that place, we're flowing with life, vibrating in the highest frequencies, and we receive everything. Because the sad thing is, it doesn't matter what we have. If we're not open to receive it, because we don't have love, it has no value. So for me, we live in so much ignorance. And me too, I'm not saying, everyone's ignorant. I came from exactly that. And once we find something more permanent, we see how unimportant everything else is.
Isha, estoy conversando con Isha, que está en este momento en Costa Azul. Yo estoy acá en Santiago, en un jardín, en mi jardín, que está aquí a mis espaldas. Ahí se ven los árboles. Ella está con un Buda maravilloso detrás de ella. En tus libros, en tus conferencias, tú hablas mucho de el amor conciencia. Y me gustaría que nos contaras un poco qué es el amor conciencia y cómo ese amor conciencia nos puede ayudar a descubrirlo hoy en esta situación en la que estamos viviendo hoy en el mundo.
Okay, so love consciousness, many people have different concepts of what is consciousness. And I'm talking about is an energy within us, which I call unconditional love. And it's a powerful energy. And we connect with that internally. And when we connect with this energy, we start to let go of our fears. We start to confront our fears. We start to become authentic. We start to feel secure. We stop judging ourselves and everyone else. Everything starts to change when we find love consciousness. And we become conscious of self. We become conscious of the victim self, which takes us into suffering. And we become conscious of our divine self, which takes us into praise, love, and gratitude. And as we start to connect with this energy and let go of what's old, we start to have a clear vision about life. We start to really appreciate the magnificence of what we're surrounded by. And no, I'm not just talking about the planet. I'm talking about our intimate relationships. We start to see through new eyes. So for me, all evolution, which creates revolution, comes from inside. It's not about changing the outside. The outside changes as a consequence. And this is, you know, people...
¿Cuál es la relación entre el ego y el amor conciencia? Porque muchas veces se escucha a algunos que dicen hay que destruir el ego, hay que eliminar el ego, pero el ego está ahí, es parte nuestra. ¿Cuál es el juego entre el ego y el amor conciencia? ¿Cómo se puede transitar de uno a otro? ¿Cuál es no sé si esa danza o ese juego entre el ego y el amor conciencia dentro de nosotros?
You know, I always use a metaphor. You know, love consciousness is a baby eagle within a shell. Okay? And as we elevate our consciousness, we start to chip away at the shell. And the light starts to come in more and more and more. And at some point, that shell, which is our invented personality, our protection of something that wasn't mature, falls away. And then the eagle takes flight. But the thing is, there's nothing wrong with the shell. We don't need to destroy it. We need to see through it. Because it's protecting something immature. So it's about loving the ego as well. You know, it protected us, and now we're ready to fly. We don't need that anymore.
Estoy con Isha conversando directamente desde este jardín a ese otro jardín que es el jardín de Costa Azul. Vamos a hacer una pequeña pausa, Isha, de unos segundos para volver en esta maravillosa conversación, en este fluir, en esta tarde de día jueves, en que nos hemos dado un espacio, un tiempo para conversar sobre la profundidad de nosotros mismos, que es donde tenemos la posibilidad de llegar hoy día, gracias a esta pandemia, este virus que nos ha mostrado que estamos enfermos de otro virus, el miedo. Volvemos en unos segundos aquí en Desde el Jardín.
Thank you. Gracias.
Gracias, gracias.
Acompáñanos en esta programación especial de Pauta. Estamos funcionando en modalidad teletrabajo para seguir entregando la mejor información y ayudar responsablemente a prevenir la expansión de la pandemia que afecta a Chile y al mundo. Síguenos en todas nuestras plataformas. 100.5 FM en Santiago, 96.7 en Viña y Temuco, 99.1 en Antofagasta, en nuestras redes sociales y en nuestro diario digital, pauta.cl. Seguimos conversando desde el jardín con Cristian Barken en Pauta 100.5.
Aquí estamos, en este único e irrepetible, en esta tarde en que sentimos la luz del jardín, la luz que entra en el jardín, el color verde de los árboles, los pájaros que cantan detrás mío. Y estoy en directo con Isha. Isha vive en Uruguay y tiene una trayectoria muy interesante, un trabajo de maestra espiritual, como escritora, como de alguna manera también educadora de la paz, podríamos decir. Fue nombrada embajadora de la paz en algún momento. Se han publicado varios libros de ella, entre ellos ¿Por qué caminar si puedes volar?, Vivir para volar, El amor y sobre todas las cosas. Isha, hablábamos del amor conciencia antes de entrar en la pausa del programa. Y en este libro, el que he leído tuyo, Sobre las nubes, tú dices que los animales son grandes maestros del amor consciente. Y cuentas incluso la historia de un contacto tuyo con un oso. Me gustó mucho esta idea, me parece muy gráfica, muy visual, de por qué los animales podrían ser nuestros maestros en el amor conciencia.
You know, I think the first thing about animals, and I have a lot of animals now, is they're always in the present moment. And they're comfortable being themselves. You know, they're not trying to be something else. They just are them. And if you go into the jungle, for example, and there's a threat, all of the jungle starts screaming. Like, for example, if a lion was going to kill a zebra, everyone starts screaming. And then there's absolute silence. And they go back into the present moment. But humans have no concept of the present moment. And we're starting to see this with this coronavirus, no? Because there's absolutely no answer. We're all speculating. But we can't be here now. And this is the perfect moment to learn to be here now and embrace the moment from a place of surrender and love. Animals flow. Nature flows. Humans are so complicated. Why? Because we live here. We don't live here. We don't anchor in our hearts. We're not present with what's transpiring. We don't hear the birds in the trees because we never stop. And we need to learn to unplug and just to be in peace as the animals. And you take a dog, for example. It sits there waiting for you all day. And when you get home, it doesn't have a list of reclaims, no? I thought you were going to be home at 7. Why were you so late? I've been waiting all day. I'm hungry. You know, They're just happy to see you, like, yay! And we're always complaining and blaming. And we can learn so much from animals, just to be in the moment. And the same with nature. You know, many things happen in nature, but it's always recovering and reflourishing and changing. And we have to learn to do that, to flow and to change and to really appreciate the miracle of life, no? Because the planet's spectacular. And humans are spectacular too, on many different levels. And on other levels, we're horrible.
Sí, eso es verdad, eso es verdad. Isha, ¿y cuál sería, esto es un juego, cuál sería tu animal interior? ¿Qué animal te gustaría ser a ti?
What animal would you love to be?
What animal?
Yeah. Your inner animal.
My inner animal.
Hmm.
I think I'm a bit of a tiger, no?
A mí, en cambio, me gustaría ser pájaro. Los pájaros. Volar.
Oh.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
That's good. I've got a falcon.
Ah, un halcón. ¡Qué maravilla!
Sí.
¿En serio?
Sí.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
Hablaste de la naturaleza y de lo importante que es aprender de ella como gran maestra, ¿no? Y en estos días hemos visto imágenes de animales que empiezan a llegar a las ciudades. Aquí en Chile llegaron unos pumas a Santiago, toda la gente está encerrada y los pumas bajaron de la montaña y llegaron a las ciudades.
Ay, qué fabuloso.
Me parece que en Escocia o Irlanda vi una fotografía hoy día de ovejas que entraron a la ciudad a comerse el pasto de los jardines, y etcétera. En mi mismo jardín he visto por primera vez, después de mucho tiempo, mariposas y abejas que no estaban. O sea, es como si la naturaleza tomara posesión de un espacio que había perdido. Eso me hace pensar mucho de cuán desconectados estamos de ese flujo con la naturaleza, ¿no? Me gustaría saber tu reflexión sobre esto, Isha.
You know, this brings so much joy to my heart. You know, every day I ride my horse on the beach. And there's all these different animals there now. And it's incredible. And it's so quick for them to recover. You know, to feel at home. And animals have this capacity. And nature has that capacity. And when we stop polluting everything, we start to see this incredible beauty. And yes, all the birds are coming back to the gardens. There's been, I mean, Uruguay is very much a country, no? Of nature. But even here, yeah, I see there's a big change in nature. Like there's a calm, an incredible calm. We're all worried, but there's a calm outside. It's beautiful, no? You know, the thing that it inspires me, the knowledge that nature can recuperate. And it can recuperate so quickly. It's like the human body. When you start looking after it, giving it the right nutrients, drinking water, taking care, removing the stress, everything starts to change. And it's the same with everything.
Uno de los aprendizajes más difíciles en la tarea de llegar a ese amor-conciencia, de estar presentes en el mundo, es la rendición, o sea, rendirse. Normalmente, como seres humanos, queremos tener el control de la situación. Hoy día estamos viviendo una situación descontrolada. Los grandes países, la Organización Mundial de la Salud, no tienen el control completo de lo que está pasando. Y eso produce, obviamente, inseguridad, incertidumbre. Los mercados financieros se desploman porque no hay un control, hay algo que se descontroló. Pero tú hablas de la rendición y dices que la rendición no es pasividad, sino que es una elección interna. ¿Qué importante es la rendición o rendirse en la vida?
You know, I always say that surrender is the wise man's greatest magic. Hombre, so. And why is that? Because we're doing what nature does. We're flowing with reality, and we're always fighting against it. And it's as you're saying, we have this illusion that we have control, but there's no control. We want control to pacify our fear. But when we let go and we flow and we surrender, that's when the magic really starts. We can create unbelievable things if we just start saying yes. You know, often even when we're trying to create something, we're so fixed on how it needs to look, we miss 100 opportunities. But if we're present and we're surrendered, we're open to everything. You know, the universe is always throwing diamonds at us, and we're always clinging to our rocks. It's true.
Isha, y en este camino, si uno, porque la oportunidad que tenemos hoy no es volver hacia adentro, es cultivar este amor conciencia, hacer aparecer el testigo, que es muy importante, ya vamos a hablar de él, sentir la presencia completa, y el siguiente paso parece ser es el vacío. Hay un momento, si continuamos en ese camino, entramos caemos a veces en un abismo interior, en un vacío. Y ahí tal vez hay otro miedo. Nuestro mundo, nuestra cultura le tiene pánico al vacío. Tratamos de llenar el vacío con información, estamos intoxicados de todo lo que nos llega por las redes sociales, la música, siempre conectados para no estar en ese vacío, para no llegar a estar nunca vacíos. Y yo creo que ese también es uno de los aprendizajes más difíciles para el hombre occidental. Y me gustaría que hablaras de esa etapa en el camino hacia adentro, que es cuando caemos en el abismo interior. ¿Qué es lo que hay en ese vacío? ¿Cuál es tu experiencia? ¿Y qué es lo que podríamos encontrar? Tal vez después de muchos meses de cuarentena, encerrado, a lo mejor podemos tocar ese vacío, la vibración de ese vacío, ¿no?
You know, it's so important to go into the emptiness. And that's when we absolutely surrender. We let go and we trust. And it's the hardest thing for a human to do. But in that emptiness is everything. That's the house of unconditional love. That's what we want. But it takes a leap of faith, no? We have to let go of our false securities and trust. And that's when everything starts to open. It's one of the greatest things anyone can do, because we find this incredible security in that emptiness. And it's called unconditional love. And people don't understand what I'm talking about, because it's totally experiential. You know, if you're worried about your economic world and I'm telling you to go into the emptiness, it's like talking in Chinese, no? It's like, what's she talking about? It's experiential. And the intellect hates all this stuff, no? Doesn't like it. But we have to find that internal security. And it's not mysticism. It's just that peace and love that's inside of all of us. And we have a memory of it. We might negate it, but we do know it's there. And, you know, it's there for everyone. You can be the president, or you can be doing the garden. You know, that peace is there for everyone.
Estoy conversando con Isha aquí desde el jardín, conectados desde Santiago de Chile, con Uruguay, directamente con la Costa Azul. A propósito de ese vacío, hay un poeta español, un poeta místico del siglo de oro, San Juan de la Cruz, que hablaba de la soledad sonora, la música callada, la soledad sonora. Esa soledad o ese vacío que vibra, que tiene sonido, esa música que es callada, que es silenciosa. Tal vez esos versos de San Juan de la Cruz describan muy bien ese vacío del que tú estás hablando. Y estás a los pies de un maestro que llegó a ese vacío. Me refiero a Buda.
Absolutely. I call it the roaring silence. It's an emptiness full of everything.
Me gustaría hablar un poco de Buda. ¿Qué ha significado para ti el contacto con él? ¿Qué es lo que podemos recoger de la enseñanza de Buda para hoy, para el hombre contemporáneo, para la situación que estamos viviendo hoy día? De uno de los más grandes maestros de la historia de la humanidad, que fue Buda, y a cuyos pies tú estás ahora ahí.
Well, you know, for me, I have no religion, no? I love all the masters, be it Jesus, Shiva, Buddha, because they're all pointing in the same direction. They're all pointing towards unconditional love, peace. It just depends what path people choose. But ultimately, we all have the same path. We're returning to ourselves. We have to go inwards. So for me, the Buddha represents that. The going in, letting go of the illusion, walking through your fears, and finding the house of omniscience, no? Which is within all of us. That security, that maturity, that responsibility. And all of the masters are teaching us this. And the Buddha for me represents that. You know, the peace, the self-realization.
¿Hay alguna historia de Buda que pudieras contarnos, algún episodio de la vida de él que te parezca significativa, que te parezca relevante en relación a lo que estamos conversando?
An episode of his life that maybe is important for you to tell.
You know, one of the things I like the most about the Buddha is he let go of everything. And he was a prince. And he went looking for something more. And then he went in exactly the opposite extreme. You know, he became so rigid, torturing his body, starving himself to death. And then he was on a river and he heard someone talking about, if you do a guitar string too tight, it breaks. And if you leave it too loose, it doesn't play. You have to find the middle path. And when he found the middle path and he surrendered to everything, that's when he awoke. So it's not about this rigidity or fanaticism, or it's not about going in the opposite direction. It's about a constant focus, surrender, and flow. And it comes from love. It doesn't come from suffering. It's about nurturing, observing, and changing. You know, and I think that's one of the Buddha stories I like the most. The middle path. Mm. No, I don't know much about. Sorry.
Es maravilloso Lao Tse, es maravilloso. Porque me acordé de Lao Tse porque él habla mucho del vacío. El vacío, el Tao finalmente tiene mucho que ver también con ese vacío vivo, ese vacío que está presente en todo. Por eso me gusta mucho Lao Tse. Isha, una de las con las que nos encontramos cuando viene una catástrofe o una epidemia o lo que estamos viviendo ahora, es el miedo a la muerte. Hablábamos del miedo, pero tal vez uno de los miedos más grandes es el miedo a la finitud, el miedo a la propia muerte. Y de alguna manera todos pensamos que podemos morirnos, siempre sabemos que vamos a morir. Pero cuando hay una cosa así, como una epidemia que avanza tan rápidamente, decimos, a lo mejor me puedo morir. Hablemos un poco de ese miedo a la muerte y tu visión de la muerte, Isha.
I always say, if you're afraid of death, you're afraid of life. You can never live life to the fullest if you're afraid of dying, because it's conditioning you all the time. And when you cultivate love consciousness, you have such an internal security, you have such a knowledge of who you really are, of your own immortality, you start to embrace that and enjoy every moment and surrender to every moment. And again, it's an internal experience. We cannot live in fear of death. We have to know the greatness of who we really are. You know, I left everything in my life to find myself, to find my divinity, no? And it was the greatest thing I ever did. And I did a lot of things before. But the freedom of living in love is the greatest freedom there is. And that silence, and that trust, and that knowingness gives you such a freedom to enjoy everything.
Isha, ¿y cómo fue tu transformación, tu metanoia, tu cambio? Cuéntame brevemente tu historia. ¿Cómo fue que llegaste a este camino? Hay algunos que conocen tu historia, pero muchos probablemente que nos están escuchando no conocen tu historia. ¿Qué te pasó a ti en tu vida que hizo que hicieras este giro, este cambio y este camino?
I always had a very strong understanding of unconditional love. You know, and I was raised by parents that gave me a lot of liberty, no? To know myself. They didn't try to influence me all the time. And at one point in my life, I literally lost everything. You know, everyone died. I lost my financial security. I lost absolutely everything. And I realized in that moment that I had to change. Because I had this knowledge, and then I became a complete yuppie, no? Like overachieving, accumulating, successful, socially situated, everything, totally illusionary. You know, I was still, I think, a nice person, but everything was external. And then when it was gone, I had to do something. I had to find something permanent. And that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because I had to change. And people need to embrace these situations, to find something new, to mature and evolve. And I got to a point in my life that I didn't want to live with fear. I didn't want my happiness to depend on someone else loving me, or someone else approving of me. And I literally let go of everything to find myself. And that was my desire. I wanted to wake up. And I hadn't been like classically spiritual, no? I didn't even know anyone spiritual. It all really came from within me. But, of course, when the student's ready, the teachers come from everywhere. And it's not where you expect either. It could be the taxi driver. You know, they say something and you go, oh, that's it. And I think my greatest blessing is I was very humble, and not humble, I was very surrendered, no? I assumed everyone knew much more than me. So it was very easy for me to expand consciousness. And I was desperate too.
Isha, tú hablaste de los maestros, y uno de los maestros posibles es el cuerpo. Nuestro cuerpo es nuestro quizás más gran maestro. Federico Nietzsche dijo en Zaratustra: tenéis un nuevo maestro, el cuerpo. ¿De qué manera el cuerpo podría ser nuestro maestro y también un guía espiritual nuestro?
You know, the thing is that our bodies shake us. They make us stop. They make us reassess. You know, we start to have problems. We might have an accident. Something can happen that makes us really look at what's important. So yes, our bodies are great teachers. And it's so important to heal our bodies, to release all the fears and the stresses so we can vibrate in high frequencies. You know, we start to experience love consciousness as well when we're detoxing. And we start to be more present. And then we start to release emotions. And we start to let go of our fear-based programs. And everything's within the house that we call our body. It's all recorded everywhere. So as we heal, everything starts to be eliminated because it's the house of consciousness. You know, we're always looking here for consciousness. It's here. That's the irony. We're always like little kids wanting daddy to save us. But we have to start here.
Estoy conversando con Isha, maestra espiritual, autora de varios libros, entre ellos Sobre las nubes, que recomiendo especialmente, y al mismo tiempo una especie de militante de la paz en el mundo. Quiero hacerte una pregunta, Isha. ¿Cuál es la oportunidad para nuestro mundo, para nuestra sociedad global, para nuestra modernidad global? ¿Cuál es la oportunidad de cambio? ¿Dónde centrarías tú el cambio o cómo convertirías esta epidemia, esta pandemia en una oportunidad de cambio? ¿En qué sentido te parece tú que el mundo debiera ir en los próximos años, en las próximas décadas? ¿Cuál es tu visión de eso?
You know, my greatest focus is education. You know, I really want to teach children to be authentic, to focus inwards, to be happy, and to be the best of who they are. And when you have children that love themselves, they incorporate everyone. They care profoundly about the world they live in. When we cultivate children that love themselves, they educate adults to love themselves. You know, children are naturally like this. We teach them how to do, how to learn, how to know. We don't teach them how to be. And we don't teach them how to communicate. And if we start there, imagine, we've already got the base. We just have to nurture that because it's natural. Children are naturally loving. When they come from environments that are violent, they turn into bullies. But they need to learn how to move their emotions no matter what's happening externally, and to take responsibility. So, you know, I teach thousands of people. But more importantly, is I'm very focused on teaching children. Little children, no? Or teachers to teach children. So that's my vision in this moment.
Isha, tengo entendido que van a tener una actividad vía streaming la próxima semana. Y me gustaría saber cuál va a ser para la gente que nos está escuchando, que está interesada en participar en esa actividad.
I had two groups of people that were inscribed to do intensive with me in my centres. And because they can't come, I'm doing 2 intensives with those people. But what we're also doing is we're teaching people online to do the system so they can start practicing at home. And it's very easy to go into the web page and to learn. You can either learn online or you can learn with a teacher. But we're doing everything through Zoom now. Everything's changed. Zoom saved my world. And we've been supporting everyone through this. You know, so we're always criticising the internet, and everyone's in their iPhones. But really it has a lot of very positive benefits as well, which is very lovely. But if people want more information, they can just go into isha.com. Or isha.com goes in.
Isha, lo último, tal vez para despedirnos, de jardín a jardín, tal vez una pequeña, cortita meditación o algo que nos puedas regalar para que podamos conectarnos, para que podamos todos, los que nos están escuchando aquí en Santiago, Antofagasta, Viña del Mar, Valparaíso, pero también la gente que nos ve a través de internet de pauta.cl. Así que te pido, por favor, que si te puedes despedir con una breve meditación, una cortita meditación.
Sure, my pleasure. So everyone close your eyes. And you're just going to breathe, no? Just normally. And you're going to place your attention in your heart. And you're going to think, praise love for this moment in its perfection. Because in this moment, irrespective of what's happening in the world, there's nothing wrong. Praise love for this moment in its perfection. And you're just going to go down, down, down into this place of peace. Praise love for this moment in its perfection. Just breathing slowly, like you're falling into a deep ocean. Praise love for this moment in its perfection. It doesn't matter about the sounds externally, all the thoughts. Praise love for this moment in its perfection. Just sitting in your heart. And then you're going to think, love creates me in my perfection. Love creates me in my perfection. Deep in the heart. Love creates me in my perfection. So it's very important that when we're worrying about the future, we just keep bringing ourselves back into the here and now. Praise love for this moment in its perfection. can we embrace this moment to know ourselves more? Stop looking externally for the answers and start finding deeper answers internally. Praise love for this moment in its perfection.
Muchas gracias, Misha. Muchas gracias a todo tu equipo. Te mandamos un abrazo cariñoso desde Chile, desde el jardín.
My beloved Chile. I love Chile. I'm there all the time.
Sí sé. Bueno,
Everyone
Yael
needs
Unger ha
to
sido muy
trust.
importante mensajera aquí. Yael Unger ha sido una gran mensajera de tu trabajo.
She's sitting in front of me. Come here, Queenie.
Mándale
Ven
un
a
tremendo
saludar.
abrazo. Yael, querida.
Come and show your face. Oh, she's
Ven,
worried about
ven.
how she's dressed. Come here.
Ven, 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 ven aquí a saludar.
She's in her pajamas.
Ay, están sus pijamas.
There she is.
Hola, Yael. Un abrazo grande, Yael. Un abrazo
Un abrazo
grande
a todos, gracias.
con esta
La
bella
reina
imagen
de Chile.
La reina de Chile, efectivamente, con esta imagen preciosa de estas mujeres guías que nos traen energía buena en este momento difícil, energía de paz, energía de amor, energía de conciencia, y a los pies de Buda nos despedimos. Muchas gracias, Isha, muchas gracias, Yael, muchas gracias a todo tu equipo. Un abrazo muy grande desde el jardín.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Es hora de entrar y cerrar la puerta por hoy. Mañana, Christian Barken nos invita a volver a salir al aire libre para cultivar las ideas y las palabras desde el jardín. En Pauta 100.